Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks, and we're ready for our June 24th lesson, which is lesson 175 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. Lesson 175, we're continuing on the review. God is but love, and therefore so am I. And this particular one is a review of 159 and 160. I give the miracles I have received. God is but love, and therefore so am I. And 160, I am at home. Fear is a stranger here. God is but love, and therefore so am I. So just a moment of review on 159. I give the miracles I have received. In that lesson, let's see, what did I want to read here? I wanted to just, Christ's vision is the miracle in which all miracles are born. Remember that. I give the miracles I have received. Well, what you've received is Christ's vision, which is the forgiven world. You know, when you see everyone as innocent and holy, as one with you, that's a gift that you received that you can now give. That last paragraph, behold the store of miracles set out for you to give. Are you not worth the gift when God appointed it be given you? Judge not God's Son, but follow in the way he has established. Christ has dreamed the dream of a forgiven world. It is his gift whereby a sweet transition can be made from death to life, from hopelessness to hope. Let us an instant dream with him. His dream awakens us to truth. His dream awakens us to truth. His vision gives the means for a return to our unlost and everlasting sanctity in God. I give the miracles I have received. God is but love, and therefore so am I, sandwiched in between lesson 160 also. I am at home. Fear is a stranger here. Fear is a stranger to the ways of love. Identify with fear, and you'll be a stranger to yourself. Remember, there's no need to be afraid of anything because God cares for you. He watches over you. He embraces you. We're going to learn in our text reading here in just a few minutes that in our divine state, we don't even have any needs. We just concocted them up because we believed we were separate. Therefore, we had a lack, and we had to believe in fulfilling that lack. Fear is a stranger to the ways of love. Identify with fear, and you will be a stranger to yourself, and thus you are unknown to you. What is yourself remains an alien to the part of you which thinks that it is real, but different from yourself. Who could be sane in such circumstance? Who but a madman could believe he is what he is not and judge against himself? So let's not be madmen again today. I am at home. Fear is a stranger here. And all day long as you awaken and as you go to sleep and throughout the day, remind yourself often, God is but love, and therefore so am I. And then on today's lesson, God is but love, and therefore so am I. I give the miracles I have received. God is but love, and therefore so am I. I am at home. Fear is a stranger here. God is but love, and therefore so am I. Let's go back into our text reading. And we're ready for Miracle Principle 51. Okay. Miracle Principle 51 on page 13. kind of a long one, and it kind of goes along with 52, but we're only going to read the first sentence or so of 52 because that ends the thought of 51. So we're gonna do a little reading here now. I won't do a lot of talking, but I do want to get this, get clear this in your mind as far as lesson miracle principle 51. The miracle is the only device which man has at his immediate disposal for controlling time. Only revelation transcends time, having nothing to do with time at all. The miracle is much like the body in that both are learning aids which aim at facilitating a state in which they are unnecessary. So the body's a learning device, and so is the miracle. When the soul's original state of direct communication is reached, neither the body nor the miracle serves any purpose. While he believes he is in a body, however, man can choose between loveless and miraculous channels of expression. He can make an empty shell, but he cannot express nothing at all. He can wait, delay, paralyze himself, reduce his creativity to almost nothing, and even introduce a developmental arrest or even a regression. But he cannot abolish his creativity. He can destroy his medium of communication, but not his potential. The potential will still be there as a seed ready to germinate when you're ready. You can't take that away. That life is given you by God and is always yours. Now let's just be aware of it. 87. Man was not created by his own free will alone. Only what he creates is his to decide. The basic decision of the miracle-minded is not to wait on time any longer than is necessary. Time can waste as well as be wasted. The miracle worker, therefore, accepts the time control factor gladly, because he recognizes that every collapse of time brings all men closer to the ultimate release from time, in which the Son and the Father are one. On page 14, paragraph 88, equality does not imply homogeneity now. And what is homogeneity? The quality of being all the same. So equality does not imply homogeneity now. When everyone recognizes he has everything, individual contributions to the sonship will no longer be necessary. When the atonement has been completed, all talents will be shared by all the sons of God. God is not partial. In other words, he doesn't give some gifts to some and some to others. It's just that we're all developing in time. We're at different places. All his children have his total love, and all his gifts are freely given to everyone alike. Except you become as little children means that unless you fully recognize your complete dependence on God, you cannot know the real power of the Son in his true relationship with the Father. Now that is a quote, or he's implying something that he said back in the book of Matthew. It's recorded that Jesus said in chapter 18, the first 4 verses. Let me read that to you out of the King James Version. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus saying, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, "Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." Okay, so our humility, our dependence on God is what he's referring to. Except you become as little children means that unless you fully recognize your complete dependence on God, You cannot know the real power of the Son in his true relationship with the Father. Okay, now with that in mind, let's say the prayer again that we were to steady our footsteps with in the review. In the second paragraph of Review 5, which we've already read, but I want to read just the prayer. This should be your prayer, which expresses your dependence on God as a little child. Steady our feet, our Father. Let our doubts be quiet and our holy minds be still, and speak to us. We have no words to give to you. We would but listen to your word and make it ours. Lead our practicing as does a father lead a little child along a way he does not understand. Yet does he follow, sure that he is safe because his Father leads the way for him. So do we bring our practicing to you, and if we stumble, you will raise us up. If we forget the way, we count upon your sure remembering. We wander off, but you will not forget to call us back. Quicken our footsteps now, that we may walk more certainly and quickly unto you. And we accept the word you offer us to unify our practicing, as we review the thoughts that you have given us. And remember, so here's this as a little child. And of course, today's lesson, we're to recall it. God is but love, and therefore so am I. I give the miracles I have received. God is but love, and therefore so am I. I am at home. Fear is the stranger here. God is but love, and therefore so am I. I don't mean to be redundant, but it's just that we need to get these ideas firm in our minds so we can think about them throughout the day. So I figured, well, I might as well say them 2 or 3 times to you. Let's go back and continue on in our reading in. So I just wanted to encourage you about the whole idea that we're to become as little children. And our Father cares for us. We're not dependent on our own means. We're not going to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, as they say it. We're doing our part, which is our faithful rehearsing of our lesson every hour, to call upon it, to think about it, to give thanks for its usefulness, and to be aware that we're dedicating the hour to come to God, as well as spend our at least 5 minutes every morning and evening, and hopefully more like 15 or 20, quietly listening to God. Okay, in paragraph 89. You who want peace can find it only by complete forgiveness. Let's back up one last time. Except you become as little children means that unless you fully recognize your complete dependence on God, you cannot know the real power of the Son and his true relationship with the Father. So we want to know our real power. And the way that we know it is by our dependence on God as little children. Watch the children. I've heard that Einstein used to just sit in the park and watch children play. We all should do that, just to learn to be more and more like little children. 89. You who want peace can find it only by complete forgiveness. Wow. You who want peace can find it only by complete forgiveness. You never really wanted peace before, so there was no point in being told how to achieve it. No learning is acquired by anyone unless he wants to learn it and believes in some way that he needs it. While the concept of lack does not exist in the creation of God, it is very apparent in the creations of man. It is, in fact, the essential difference. A need implies lack by definition. It involves the recognition that you would be better off in a state which is somehow different from the one you are in. Well, we want to be aware not to be doing that. But until we realize it, we're going to be losing our peace. But as we learn to practice forgiveness, which is recognizing what we thought our brother did to us had not even occurred, only love is real, and only love is what we want to perceive. 90. Until the separation, which is a better term than the fall, nothing was lacking. This meant that man had no needs at all. If he had not deprived himself, he would never have experienced them. After the separation, needs became the most powerful source of motivation for human action. All behavior is essentially motivated by need, but behavior itself is not a divine attribute. The body is the mechanism for behavior. The belief that he could be better off is the reason why man has this mechanism at his disposal. So we created the belief that we had a need, so therefore we had to create a body to fulfill the need. What a cycle. 91. Each one acts according to the particular hierarchy of needs he establishes for himself. His hierarchy, in turn, depends on his perception of what he is. That is what he lacks. A sense of separation from God is the only lack he really needs to correct. This sense of separation would never have occurred if he had not distorted his perception of truth and thus perceived himself as lacking. The concept of any sort of need hierarchy arose because, having made this fundamental error, he had already fragmented himself into levels with different needs. As he integrates, he becomes one, and his needs become one accordingly. And what is our only need? A sense of separation from God is the only lack he really needs to correct. There you go. 92. Unified need produces unified action because it produces a lack of ambivalence. Ambivalence, might want to know what that word. It's the state of having contradictory ideas, to be ambivalent, and to have contradictory ideas about something or someone. So unified need produces unified action because it produces a lack of ambivalence. The concept of a need hierarchy, a corollary to the original error that man can be separated from God, requires correction at its own level before the error of perceiving levels at all can be corrected. Man cannot behave effectively while he operates at split levels. However, while he does, correction must be introduced from the bottom up. This is because he now operates in space, where concepts such as up and down are meaningful. Ultimately, listen to this, ultimately space is as meaningless as time. The concept is really one of space-time belief. Okay. 93. The physical world exists only because man can use it to correct his unbelief, which places him in it originally. The physical world exists only because man can use it to correct his unbelief, which placed him in it originally. He can never control the effects of fear himself because he made fear and believes in what he made. In attitude, then, though not in content, he resembles his own creator, who has perfect faith in his creations because he created them. Belief in a creation produces its existence. That is why a man can believe in what no one else thinks is true. It is true for him because it was made by him. 94. Every aspect of fear proceeds from upside-down perception. The more truly creative devote their efforts to correcting perceptual distortions. The more truly creative devote their efforts to correcting perceptual distortions. The neurotic devotes his to compromise. The psychotic tries to escape by establishing the certain truths of his own errors. It is most difficult to free him by ordinary means because he is more consistent in his own denial of truth. The miracle, however, makes no such distinctions. It corrects errors because they are errors. Thus, the next point to remember about miracles is, and this will be Miracle Principle 52, which we're only going to read the introduction to it for today. And so in Miracle Principle 52, the miracle makes no distinction among degrees of misperception. Remember, there's no order of difficulty in miracles. Very first principle. The miracle makes no distinction among degrees of misperception. It is a device for perception correction, effective quite apart from either the degree or the direction of the error. This is its true indiscriminateness. So, thus, the next point. Why does he say thus? The miracle, however, makes no such distinctions. It corrects errors because they are errors. Thus, the next point to remember about miracles is the miracle makes no distinction among degrees of misperception. It is a device for perception correction, effective quite apart from either the degree or the direction of the error. This is its true indiscriminateness. All right, so we'll pick up there on Miracle 52 next time we read. Okay, before we say one last time our lesson for the day, I showed you the wild lettuce yesterday, and I wanted to mention to you, I have my knife here. There is a latex white stuff inside these things. Of course, I've had this sitting out here in a pot. I almost hate to cut it. It's so pretty. Matter I won't. I kind of like it just as a plant sitting here in the house for the next few days. But if you cut the stem of a wild lettuce, the telltale sign is wild lettuce is some white latex type paste will come out. And I've heard people say that that's been used in the past for pain relief. So it's amazing. It's probably got all kinds of amazing uses. All right, today I wanted to show you buckbrush. Really common plant out here on my place, and it's called buckbrush. Its scientific name is Symphoracarpos orbiculatus, if I'm pronouncing it right. Anyway, let me take a little look closer at it, the leaves, and you see it's got an erect stem and alternate leaves. Very prolific, grows in clumps in the understory, and it can actually grow out in the sunlight too. But you see it a lot on the edge. It's a good erosion control plant. Some things about it: good pollinator for bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds. Cherokee healers made a decoction from the root to be used as a diuretic and to help stimulate kidney function. So diuretic, which helps you urinate. I use the root when I'm out. I need just something for like survival, or you're camping and you want something to lash with. The roots a lot of times will run fairly close to the surface, and you can pull them up and get some pretty long roots. And while they're still wet, they're really good about lashing. Use it for a rope, for shelter or something. Anyway, that's called buckbrush. All right. So for today, God is but love, and therefore so am I. I give the miracles I have received. God is but love, and therefore so am I. I am at home. Fear is the stranger here. God is but love, and therefore so am I.